Welcome to your online coffee break, where we discuss bite-sized topics that inspire, educate, and entertain. Here's your host, a software innovator, award-winning marketer, and astronomy and space buff, Chuck Fields.
Hello, thanks for joining us today for your online coffee break. Today I'd like to welcome to the show my special guest, Douglas Karr. Doug has worked in the marketing and technology space for the past 2 decades. The decade before that, he worked in the newspaper, direct marketing, and direct mail industries. Doug is a U.S. Navy veteran who served in Operation Desert Storm. He's also the author of Corporate Blogging for Dummies, as well as the co-host of Dell Luminaries, a leading podcast interviewing the greatest minds in technology. Doug is also the founder of the MarTech Zone, a publication and podcast reaching over 1 million visitors and listeners each year. Doug has joined us today to talk about MarTech and the trends for 2019.
Online coffee break.
Doug, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. A pleasure to be here.
Well, it is an honor to have you here. You know, we have some things in common. I was thinking back. Both of us, I think, in the 90s is when we started going into the marketing field.
Yeah.
You know, I know you're a Navy veteran. You served in Operation Desert Storm. Appreciate your service on that. But marketing has changed just a little bit since the 90s. And I was just thinking about that. I was thinking how much it changed. And you're a MarTech expert. But some of our listeners out there might not know what MarTech is. So I was wondering if you could kind of give us sort of a simple, big picture synopsis of how you define what MarTech is.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the short term is it's marketing technology, but it's basically all of the platforms. What's really changed over the years is that we've gone from a few different channels to hundreds of channels where we have to sell. And so, right here, we're on a podcast or video or Facebook ads or Google ads, our websites, our TV, radio, magazines still. So we have all of these different channels. Well, we didn't replicate our marketing people.
No.
when we added those channels. In fact, we probably cut back since the good old days. And so we're relying heavily on technology basically to get those messages across those different channels, to measure the impact of them, and to help us make better decisions with how we're spending our marketing dollars.
Well, see, I like how you mentioned that because, like I said, the marketing staffs didn't quadruple to stay along with the many arsenal of tools we have out there. But how does a marketing team or a marketing person not get overwhelmed by all the tools at their disposal these days?
Well, yeah. One is a lot of them really are overwhelmed now, and so. It really does take hiring external consultants, and I'm not trying to sell my services on here, but the issue is that if you're not keeping up with technology, you're probably spending too much money. You're probably spending too much time. Right. You're probably really suffering, and so it really does take knowing some people out there that kind of know the landscape of your industry and what's happening, because just simply upgrading a platform could cut your costs in half and double your productivity. But if you don't know that they exist, you're in real trouble. And so I think that companies are really becoming more reliant now on external expertise to help them guide them and reach a level of maturity with their marketing that they need to be.
That makes so much sense too, because I'm thinking, I'm in the software industry and things just change so fast. And it's hard enough to stay on top of the skills, but you also need to know what the landscape, what's out there. And it makes perfect sense. In MarTech, you have so many things that are out there. You can be just stretched as it is, just trying to measure and do all your marketing efforts, but you don't know what's on the horizon. So if you're working with an expert, that makes so much sense on that.
And the majority of marketers nowadays, because of digital, their biggest problem is moving data from one place to the next. Right. And so these systems are becoming a lot more smarter about the way that they integrate with one another, and then the intelligence, on how they operate. And so the good thing is that the systems are really becoming more reliable to help us win back some time that we need to be more creative, to actually do the marketing work. Because I joke, most marketers aren't doing marketing at all. But most of us are just trying to get all the pieces moving in the right direction. And by the time you get to actually doing an A/B test, of two different versions of something, years goes by, before you're able to hit that level of maturity with your digital marketing. So yeah, it's a struggle for everybody nowadays.
Well, that makes sense. One thing you mentioned, intelligence. I want to kind of do a segue here to one thing that really, I guess, intrigues me. It's just artificial intelligence, machine learning, where that's going. And I've seen some of your articles. I'd love to hear a little bit more about how AI is affecting MarTech and how marketers can take advantage of that. I know that's kind of a huge area, but if you can kind of narrow that down for us.
Yeah, well, I'll put it to you this way. As a marketer, I have my own bias, right?
Sure.
If I'm a great email marketer, guess what? It's the hammer and the nail. All of a sudden email, tends to be the best thing on earth. Mm-hmm. And what technology is doing for us is AI is able to take an unbiased look, and by testing through thousands of scenarios, sometimes, within, minutes or seconds, mm-hmm. These AI powered systems can tell us which direction that we need to be selling, or even make the choice for us. Mm-hmm. And so things like, they could rotate through headlines, and then see which headline actually gets the best conversion rate, and then, continue to send out the rest of the emails with an optimized headline in it. And the great thing about that, again, is some marketers get scared of AI and they say, "Oh, the robots are coming and they're going to take our jobs." But really, what they've done, in my opinion, is they're winning back some time for us to get more creative. And so now I don't have to worry about maybe optimizing my page or optimizing my message. I can let the machine learning do that for me, because it understands English, it understands response rates, it can test 1,000 different ways. I can't do that. I don't have the time and bandwidth to do that. But now what it's going to allow me to focus on is what the problem is. Okay, how do I maybe increase, my communications to my customers? How can I retain them better? How can I start looking at all of the problems, that we haven't looked at yet? And so AI, to me, is just this incredible addition that's helping me and my clients win back time to be more creative with our marketing. And ultimately, creativity is what really wins in this field.
Absolutely. And one thing that reminds me of, there was a book that I read in the 90s when I was first getting started. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Guerilla Marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was like my Bible of marketing. And he just, I think it was Jay Leverance, if I remember the author right, he just kept emphasizing, measure your results. And you touch on something there with AI. I mean, we can have those multiple headlines out there, see which one's working the most, adjust it accordingly. I think that's got to be just a huge time saver, to say the word. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Here's a scale for you. My son is a data scientist,
Mm-hmm.
And he works in the retail industry. And so they take millions of transactions from these large companies and they analyze them for, demographic information and messaging and which one worked and which one didn't. Mm-hmm. My son can ramp up 20, I think he told me 26 different servers instantaneously and test tens of thousands of different combinations within seconds to come up with the optimized solution. And so you think about that from a manpower standpoint, mm-hmm. There's no way we could possibly come close to that. And again, we get to avoid our own bias, which is really important as well. And so to me, it's going to be such a freeing opportunity for marketers, that we can focus on, like I said, we can focus on, how quirky we want to be, or what kind of creatives that we can do that are outside of the norm, or, what kind of messaging that we can do or offer that we can make. I would much rather be spending my time on that than analyzing, 14 different headlines to see which one had the best click-through rate.
Oh, me too. It's so much fun. I mean, the creative side is just so much more fun. I just love it. So saving time and money is just almost an understatement, because you can do things with AI, like you said, that are just, you can't do it, yourself or even with a team.
You can't. Yeah, it's impossible. And like I said, I think the other important factor is avoiding our own bias. As a marketer, I always tell people that, I think that I'm well respected in my field.
Oh, yes.
And one of the reasons why is because people ask me, which way should I do this? And I always come back and say, let's test. Because anytime that I make a guess, I'm almost always wrong.
I understand. Me too on that one.
And I think that I'm pretty experienced, but it always surprises me that sometimes the most obvious choice is not the one that works.
Wow, I love that. Straight from the expert here. One thing I want to talk about too, another, I guess the devices where you're talking about the voice activated devices like your Amazon, Alexa, Google Home. How are those impacting marketing? I was really surprised, but it makes sense that if you're doing marketing, you need to consider the voice marketing services. And I'd just love to hear a little bit more about what your thoughts are on that industry.
Well, I think it comes back to we're not trying to figure out how to leverage technology to tweak it or to cheat with the systems, right?
Right.
SEO is an example. 5 years ago, it was all about gaming the system. You used keywords a ton of times, or you did this, or you did that.
Right.
And what I feel like is happening is technology is getting so good, especially with voice search, that it's frustrating when it doesn't work right? If you ask it a question and it comes back with a different response, consumers just aren't going to keep going for it. And so these guys are moving at ever, greater speeds as far as, learning how voice works, learning what the intent of the question is, and then responding with the right answer. Well, that's perfect for us, again, as marketers, because we have to tweak and get our message out there appropriately. We can't sit there and try to keyword stuff or try to do this or try to do that. It's forcing us to be more succinct, with our marketing and our communication efforts. And so what I keep telling people is, these are great systems because it's capturing thousands of questions about what your product or service is. Well, those are questions that you should have been answering online 10 years ago, offline 20 years ago. And so what it really is doing is forcing a discipline upon us to answer the questions and do it in an effective way, the most effective way, because whoever's more effective, whoever has the best answer, that's going to be the response for voice search. It's not a matter of, giving us a search engine result page with 10 results and we get to pick. They're going to pick based on whether people ask the question over and over again, and get the wrong responses. Well, it's going to be a quick learning curve where, there is no number two in the search engines. There's a number one, or you're not in the result.
Wow, I love that. Now, Doug, as we're going into 2019, are there other trends you see that are going to affect the MarTech field?
I think so. I think augmented reality and virtual reality are really just amazing fields now. I think augmented reality, the ability to interact with objects around us in a different environment are really cool. Virtual reality, obviously, being immersed in a third. You think about something as simple as you might want to go test drive a car. Well, now you don't have to go test drive a car. Now you can put on a VR headset and you can go out, select the road that you want to drive on, and actually operate the car and the buttons and the mechanisms, all from, your living room.
Wow.
And I think that's going to change. It's really going to transform the way that we shop and buy. That you can look at I was looking at, the fact that you can pick up a piece of furniture and put it in your house, and actually lay it down exactly where it should be, change the colors and change the tints on it so that you can pick the best one. And so, again, it's going to be this incredible opportunity for marketers, to get their product in front of somebody in a manner that, we've never seen before. And so I feel like the phones are great. The bandwidth obviously is skyrocketing. 5G is getting rolled out. Well, that just gives this incredible opportunity for us to do these really heavy lifting and heavy computational things right from our smartphones.
This is an exciting time for sure. As a marketer,
Yeah.
I love this stuff. One thing I want to find out, there might be some listeners out there. We have several business owners, several marketing professionals. I'd like to, if you can tell us a little bit more about the MarTech Zone, your publication and podcast with over 1 million viewers annually at least. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, it all started, I was part of a book club with a bunch of, marketers, and slowly but surely I wound up being the tech guy, in where all the marketers were asking me about what the latest tech was and everything. And so I kind of said to myself, what? I should probably put something out on the internet and then send these guys a newsletter and ladies a newsletter that informs them of all these things that I discover. Mm-hmm. And so that was 12 years ago now.
Wow.
And so MarTech has grown, like you said, considerably. And now with the podcast, we interview marketing experts on there and get their feedback. But it's a place where you can go to, research, discover, and learn is what I always say. Is if you want to research a platform or a topic, we've got, great content there. If you want to learn about something, we've got stuff there. And then, of course, if you just want to discover, if you want to go out there and put in virtual reality and see what's happening, we've got some articles there.
That's some great content. And they can find out more about that. Is that your website is martech.zone? Is that correct?
That's it. Yep.
Excellent. How can they find out more about you and your services?
My business site is dknewmedia.com. Mm-hmm. And basically the way that I work with customers is we have an annual engagement, and I have about 5 or 6 key clients. And over the course of the year, I help them educate themselves, upgrade their systems, optimize and basically build out their digital marketing and make it more effective. So thank you. Thank you for asking that.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'll definitely put links to these in the show notes. So if you're listening, just check the show notes. Doug, I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Thank you so much.
Well, it's not often that you're on the same show as astronauts and everything else. So thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Thanks again.
Online coffee break.
Wow, the future of MarTech is exciting. I really enjoyed my conversation with Doug today. I hope you did too. If you'd like to join the MarTech Zone, just go to his website, martech.zone. If you'd like to learn more about Doug's company and his services, go to their website at dknewmedia.com. I want to thank Doug for joining us today. I want to thank you for joining us today as well. If you'd like to comment on today's topic, just go to our website, onlinecoffeebreak.com, or call us at 317-862-4700. Leave a comment there. We just might play it on the air. We'd also love it if you'd follow us on Instagram at Online Coffee Break. Also, be sure to rate this on iTunes or share this episode with your friends. Thanks again for joining us today. See you next time. God bless.